Okay. I had my first girlfriend when I was before going to college back in California. And I remember after 6 months, she said to me, Paris, we have a problem. And I was like, well, what problem do we have? And she said, well, that's it. We never have any problems. And I was like, well, why is that a problem? She says, well, because, my girlfriends, they have boyfriends that, make it exciting. They either cheat on them or, something happens, but you're so predictable. And I said to her, so how is it that I'm predictable? And she says, well, like, for example, when you tell me you're going to call me at 8 o'clock, what time do you call me?
8 o'clock.
And I was like, 8 o'clock, right? And she said, yeah, but don't you understand that if you were to call me at 8:15, those 15 minutes are beautiful because it's that uncertainty of, will he call me? Does he love me? And that's like the passion of life. You're boring. You're predictable. Well, she left me after 6 months of being predictable. And I realized then that, you can be a nerd in your personal life and also in your professional life. So there I was in Boston, and I was very nerdy. So when I graduated after my master's work, I went to work in programming. And program is the type of work where, everything's very certain. I used to write parsers for a big IT company. But then I decided I had to move to New York because I got an offer from a friend of mine in New York for me to run his sales desk. And I was like, Andrew, I can't do sales. I mean, look at me, I'm a nerd. If I get on the phone with somebody, they're going to hang up the phone on me. And he said, Paris, I trust you. I'm going to train you for 6 months. And sure enough, he trained me for 6 months. And I became a hell of a salesman. It just changed my life. So what was amazing is that in my professional life, I was now loving uncertainty. I was looking for the next deal. But in my personal life, I was still calling my girlfriends at 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
Because, and that's when I realized that we are different. And our personal life is very different to our professional life. And that, later on, as I'll talk to you a little bit later, that became my research work when I got my PhD. So there I was. I was an investment banker for 21 years, 10 years in New York and 11 years in London. And it was great. I mean, the money was great. I loved what I was doing. I was doing deals. The uncertainty was everywhere. But then what happened one day is that I realized that I had become a Friday person. And, all my life, without thinking about it, I was a Monday person. And Friday people are those people that they're looking forward to Fridays because Thursdays you see them smiling.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, it's like the weekend.
Thank God
is
it's
here.
Friday.
Yeah, thank God it's Friday. And it's because they hate what they do.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Because when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. So I always give this advice to students, life's too short to be a Friday person.
Yep.
40% of our life is work. So you can't be like, a Friday person the rest of your life. So I've always wanted to be a Monday person. So I've always looked forward to Mondays. So sure enough, there I was in London at the time in investment banking, and I had become a Friday person. I said I needed to change. So what happened was I got lucky. I got a call from Sony in Japan, and they said to me, Paris, we got a problem. Manchester United has canceled the friendly match tour in Japan this year. And I'm American. I don't really like soccer. Not used to it. And I was a banker. So I was like, well, how can I help you? I'm your banker. I'm not your sports executive. And they said to me, well, we need your help to try to find an entrepreneur to organize a friendly match now that with a big European soccer team. And there I was. And I thought, well, let me think about it. That night I couldn't sleep. And I thought to myself, what if I just leave the bank and become a sports marketing professional?
How was that night?
That night was crazy. I was like, I'm gonna leave all this money. I'm 42 years old. I'm at the top of my career. I got a beautiful apartment. It was tough. I didn't sleep all night. And in the morning, I said to my wife, I was at ABN AMRO Bank, which was a nice bank, but it wasn't one of the top banks. I said to my wife, honey, I'm leaving the bank. And she said, oh, really? Where are you going? Goldman Sachs, maybe? Morgan Stanley? And I said, no, I'm going to become a sports marketing professional. She looked at me and said, "What? You hate sports?" Like, yeah, but I don't need to like sports. So, she didn't talk to me for 3 days because she
Oh
said,
wow.
we have a beautiful life here. Why are you going to do something that you don't really like? But I knew that I needed to go back to becoming a Monday person. So after 3 days, she started talking to me again. I left the bank. And that summer, we took Valencia, which was the UEFA Champions winner that year, 2003, to Japan. And it
I
was
love
amazing.
Valencia.
It was amazing. They had never been to Japan. We did such a great job that the following year, Laporta from Barcelona called me up and said, "You guys are taking us to Japan."
How did you find Juan Laporta? Because I'm a huge soccer fan, and
He found me.
he found
He,
you.
he found me
That's
because he said,
incredible.
"Who's organized the best friendly match tour in Japan this year?" And he came to me and he said, "Listen, we want $2 million per game. We want you to organize 3 games in Japan."
Wow.
And I rented a jumbo jet. We stuck the entire uh, Barcelona team in there, and we flew to Japan the following year, 2004. 2005, we did the same thing. In 2006, we did the same thing. So over 5 years, my little company was like the biggest promoter of European soccer
That's
in
incredible.
Japan.
From being an
And
investment banker to being the biggest sports
yeah,
promoter in European soccer.
yeah. So it was a great ride. We then sold the company. Then during 8 years, I had 5 startups. 2 failed miserably. 3 did okay. Another one I did was a video game. I did the first combat first-person shooter game for Xbox.
Oh,
It,
really?
it was a disaster. It was a disaster. And then we did a few. I did an advertising agency, renewable energy startup. 5 startups. 2 I lost a lot of money. 3 did okay. And then I got fed up with entrepreneurship, and I said, I hate what I'm doing right now. I